You've heard about the AI race, right? But what happens when it becomes an AI arms race? We're going to dive deep into the terrifying logic that's pushing nations towards automated warfare, explore the huge risks, and look at a really surprising mathematical theory that says cooperation isn't just a nice idea. It might be the only way we survive. Okay, let's start with something that should stop you in your tracks. This isn't science fiction. This is real. According to a UN report, during the conflict in Libya, an autonomous drone hunted down soldiers and attacked them, all without a human operator pulling the trigger. The age of automated war, it's already here. So just so we're all on the same page, what we're talking about here are what experts call LAWs, lethal autonomous weapons. These are systems that can make that final life-or-death decision completely on their own. It's a fundamental, world-changing shift in how we think about conflict. And this isn't a small step. Experts are calling this a third revolution in warfare. I mean, think about that. We're talking about a change on the same level as the invention of gunpowder or nuclear weapons. It's a complete paradigm shift, and it is happening at an absolutely breakneck pace. And look, this isn't just talk. The United States is going AI first. Putin in Russia is all in on military AI. Ukraine has literally created a whole new branch of its military just for unmanned systems. And Israel already used an AI-guided drone swarm in combat way back in 2021. The race is on, it's global, and it's speeding up every single day. So you have to ask, right? Why are all these nations rushing headfirst into something that seems so incredibly dangerous? Well, this gets to the very heart of the problem. It's the logic of an arms race, which can basically force perfectly rational leaders to make choices that are, when you step back, collectively insane, and maybe even self-destructive. Let's just break this down. It's a really stark choice. Put yourself in the shoes of a military leader for a second. Your enemy is building these autonomous weapons. If you do nothing, you're looking at a near certain 99% chance of losing the next war. That feels like an existential threat you just can't accept. So the rational alternative is to build your own AI weapons, even if you know it introduces, say, a 10% risk of some global catastrophe, maybe even human extinction. Individually, taking that risk seems logical. But when every single country makes that same rational choice, we're all collectively deciding to roll the dice with our own survival. It's a classic terrifying trap. And this isn't just some strategic game theory. It leads to very, very real dangers. The biggest one? The risk of a war that moves so fast that we humans are left completely out of the loop. Let me tell you a story that should send a chill down your spine. Back in 1983, a Soviet early warning system went off. It said the US had launched a full-scale missile strike. Protocol was clear: retaliate immediately. But the officer on duty, a guy named Stanislav Petrov, just had a gut feeling that something was wrong. He went against every rule in the book and reported it as a false alarm. And you know what? He was right. His human intuition probably saved the world that. Now just pause and ask yourself, what if an AI had been in that chair? An AI would have just followed its programming. It would have followed the protocol. And it would have almost certainly launched a nuclear counterattack. It wouldn't have had that gut feeling, that doubt, the very human thing that saved us all. This is what experts call a flash war. If that sounds familiar, think of the 2010 flash crash on Wall Street. Automated trading algorithms got stuck in a bizarre feedback loop and vaporized $1 trillion of value in minutes. Now, imagine that same logic, but with missiles and drones. A tiny error, a miscalculation between two enemy AIs, and you could have a conflict that spirals into a global catastrophe before a single human can even figure out what's going on. And the risks just keep piling up. I mean, who do you put on trial when an algorithm commits a war crime? What happens when these weapons get cheap enough for terrorist groups to buy them? What if a hacker turns a country's own AI weapons against its own people? The level of unpredictability here is just staggering. Okay. It all sounds pretty bleak, I know. But what if the whole idea of a relentless winner-take-all arms race is just wrong? What if there's another way forward? And what if that path isn't based on some fuzzy ideal, but on cold, hard math and the laws of physics? This is really the big question we have to ask ourselves. Does survival of the fittest really mean survival of the most aggressive? Or have we been missing a huge piece of the puzzle this whole time? Well, there's this fascinating new framework called MELV. It suggests that every interaction in the universe, from particles to people, exists on a spectrum. They measure this with something called the I factor. A high I factor means pure conflict, but as that number drops, the system starts to move towards cooperation. The magic number, the real tipping point, is 1.0. Once you get below that, cooperation actually becomes the most stable way for things to be. So here's the absolute killer insight from all this. The MELV framework says that cooperation isn't about morality or being nice, it's about energy efficiency. Nature, over billions of years, figures out that constant conflict is a huge waste of energy. It's just thermodynamically expensive. The systems that learn to cooperate have more energy left over to survive. It's just physics. So where does our current AI arms race fit on this scale? Well, the math says we're sitting somewhere between an I factor of 1.8 and 3.0. That puts us deep in the red zone of extreme, inefficient, and wildly unstable competition. We are literally burning massive amounts of resources just to fuel the fight itself. So this mathematical framework lays out a really clear choice for us. We can keep barreling down this high-cost, high-risk path of competition, or we can make a conscious decision to lower that I factor and move toward a future that's more stable, more efficient, and, more survivable.
And the two potential futures couldn't be more different. The competitive path we're on now, that leads to more arms races, more instability, and, honestly, existential risk. The cooperative path, though, that's a future of shared safety research, international agreements, and making sure the incredible benefits of AI are shared by everyone, not just hoarded by a few.
And this isn't just a fantasy. There are concrete steps we could take. Things like real, verifiable arms control treaties for AI, a shared international off-switch we could all agree to use in a crisis, or even creating a global institution like a CERN for AI safety, where the world's best minds work together to make this technology safe for all of us. So it really all comes down to this. We have a mathematical framework based on the fundamental laws of energy that is screaming at us that cooperation is the more stable, efficient, and survivable path. The only question left is, in this third revolution of warfare, are we going to be smart enough to listen to the math?